How are you all today? I want you to take your right hand and put it on your left shoulder, and your left hand on your right shoulder, and give yourself a hug, because you got up this morning and your name wasn't in the obituary, so you can move on with it. Well, this was a good choice for you to be here today. There's a dual reason for our gathering today. One is we want to really share with you about our Master of Science in Executive Leadership, which is really the reason and the way that Garry Ridge and I got together, and that's been a fun thing. I guess it's almost 10 years. We're starting our 11th cohort, I think. I was teeing off on the Buick Pro-Am here, and I saw the head of development from the University of San Diego, and I had looked at all the MBA programs around the country, and nobody taught anything about leadership. All they were teaching about was financial analysts and consultants. That's what they were training people, not anything against those fields, but I think we could use some leaders in the world, particularly leaders that thought of the world a little different way, that they thought leadership wasn't all about them. It was about their people, their customers, their community, and could look at leadership as more of a servant leadership aspect rather than the self-serving. And so I mentioned to this guy, I'd love to talk to the university. Would you be interested? And we had a wonderful dean at that time that got all excited, and I'd never seen a university move so fast. We went from February to advertising and launching the program in November, which is really exciting. So that's what we're one of the key things we wanted to do. And then Garry and I want to share with you a little bit about this book that we just did together, because we hope it'll change the way people are managed in organizations and how performance review is done, because it needs a little work. But I first want to introduce you to a new colleague that we're really excited is with us, Kurt May. And Kurt has quite a background. He was with GTE and a lot of different organizations and has been very successful. A businessman, but we talked him into coming and being the director of our Master of Science in Executive Leadership. And it's kind of, today is kind of a celebration of a beginning of our second decade of this program and the cooperative relationship between the Ken Blanchard companies and the University of San Diego. So I want to introduce Kurt to say a few words to you.
Thank you, sir. Ken mentioned we have a couple of purposes here this morning. One is to provide to our graduates some ongoing education, things to extend their executive skills beyond the tools that they learned in the MSEL program. And I'd like to use that as the platform to announce to you that we're going to be offering programs like this nearly on a monthly basis. And at the end, I'll talk about two that are coming up fairly quickly, one on July 8th and the second on July 22nd. So you'll be hearing more about that. If we don't have your email information, please be sure to leave it at the desk on the way out, or your business card, and we'll be sure to include you in that distribution. The second goal, and frankly my primary goal, is recruiting for the MSEL program. MSEL is the Master of Science in Executive Leadership. And as Ken mentioned, it is a very, very different program than anything you've seen if you've looked at MBA programs before. He mentioned a little bit about my background. Until just a couple of months ago, I was assistant dean at the business school at the University of California and had been there for many years, and I was teaching new venture creation at the program over there. And a quick story about that. 2 weeks ago, I was speaking with the Financial Executives International Group, a couple of hundred people, and I said, I've got to be honest, there are some students of mine in the audience here from the Rady School. And the question they all asked me is, why are you here? What's wrong at the Rady School? And my answer was, there's absolutely nothing wrong at the Rady School. It's a great program. But there's something missing at the Rady School. And what's missing is we weren't teaching our students those skills of the heart, the inspirational skills. And those tools that really carry the team to the goal line, when the flames come up between you and the goal, this is what drives people through the fire. And I saw that over here, and I saw the program that Ken had created and that Garry is so instrumental in, and realized this is where I needed to be. Now that story kind of has a little bit of a postscript. I got here the day after Memorial Day, so it was a short week. By Thursday, which was 3 days into my tenure, I had just about had it. I got home and I said to my wife, I think I might have made a mistake. And I don't want to be specific about that, but she said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm just going to give it another day or so to see how that goes. And Friday night, we had the graduation for the last cohort. I called my wife from the dinner table, and I said, I know right now I'm in exactly the place I'm supposed to be. It was that inspirational. When you hear these graduates speak, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? So that's why I'm here. I am absolutely delighted to be here. As Ken said, I'm an industry guy. I'm not an academic. I'm just kind of a dumb engineer that spent 30 years around corporate America, and I was involved in big companies and several startups, some of which were actually successful. So it was pretty exciting for me. But I'm happy to, well, if you've been in the startup business, you know what I'm talking about there too. Before I continue on, I'd just like to introduce, Ken, were you going to introduce some of your faculty or later on? Okay, then I know of only one of our faculty members that's joining us here, Shirish Deshpande. Would you stand up, please? And as you'll hear in a little bit, the MSEL program benefits from the faculty from USD, and also the very capable faculty from the Ken Blanchard companies. We talk about leadership. Is it important? Well, of course it is. All you have to do, look at the headlines of the Wall Street Journal this morning. Look at all the issues that come up there. Is there anything that can't be solved with more capable leadership? There was a very interesting article recently in which they said that, talking about General Motors, and the comment in the journal was the same management principles that allowed GM to rise to the top of its industry were at fault for bringing GM to the bottom. And so very, very interesting comment, I thought. I'm going to save my pitch, my advertisement for the MSEL program to the end. But I do, again, want to thank you for coming, remind you that there will be more of these in the works for you. We'll be announcing that to you if you let us know who they are. With that, Ken, I'd like to give it back to you and Mr. Ridge.
He said give it back to Mr. Ridge, and Garry says my dad is here. That's a great line. I'd love to have the folks who have graduated from the MSEL program to stand up who are here so you can see them. We got quite a few representatives of. So if you have any questions about the program and you want to hear something from them, that'd be just great. So we're just glad to see everybody here. It's one of the things I think that inspired Kurt is night before graduation, we always have a dinner where everybody gets to bring their parents and their family, and part of that is I go around with a microphone and ask people what did the program mean to them, and you don't normally see at graduate programs people crying and emotional, but it really is, because not only is the content of the program good, but the real power is, you got 20 to 25 people who are really lifelong friends, colleagues, mentors, and all, and it's the cohort relationship. The students meet together 1 3-day weekend a month for 2 years, and then 1 week each summer, and so it's a lot of time together, and they end up having colleagues that they have really for life, and I think that's a big emotional thing for them. How about folks that are in the program? Because I think there's some that are here that are in the program right now. We got, yeah, look at this. Yeah. So we get plenty of enthusiasm. Just some faculty members from our side. Bob Glazier, who, what course are you teaching now, Bob? You change around a lot.
Leading organizational change, culture change.
The culture change. And Eunice Parisi Carew, who teaches the Teams course and wrote with me 2 books, The 1 Minute Manager Builds High-Performing Teams and High Five. and then my wife Margie, and she and I teach the Leadership Point of View course, and she wrote with me a book, The 1 Minute Manager Balances Life and Work, and all of these people are co-authors. We wrote a book called Leading at a Higher Level, which is really the textbook summarizing the leadership part of our MSEL program and what we've been doing for 30 years. See, we think that leadership is a transformational journey beginning with self-leadership. Most people, I think, that have leadership problems have never even looked at themselves and, what's their mission in life? What are their values? What's their leadership point of view and all? And I think that is such an important, and that course begins the whole program, a 1-week program, which people really have to deal with who they are and learn a lot about themselves, their temperament, and all kinds of wonderful things that can really help them. And Marge and my leadership point of view kind of ends the emphasis on the self, and then we move to one-on-one leadership, because if you know yourself, then you're much better able to lead someone else. I always watch older parents. I think in some ways they seem to be much more calm and better parents than, when our kids were young. Marge and I were in our early 20s, didn't even know who we were, much less what these kids were doing running around. So through prayer, they've been able to survive, and they work with us. But our daughter Debbie has a first child at 39, and I just watch her. She's really pretty amazing to watch. Once you know how to lead an individual, then Eunice and colleagues go to the whole team leadership, which is more complicated than dealing with an individual. That if Greg and I are working together, we only have 2 possible relationships. If Kurt joins us, we jump from 2 to 12. Most people would say 6, because the reason it is it's our relationship to each other and all, but it's my relationship to Kurt when Craig is there. Have you ever, been talking with a colleague, and you're going to go in and talk to your boss, and you agree on what you're going to talk about, and you get in the meeting and your colleague heads south? That's because there's somebody else there. And then if somebody else joins us, if Cheryl joins our group, we jump to 54 possible relationships. And you can see it's a family, when it's just the 2 of you, it's complicated enough getting along. You had the first kid, you go to 12, that second kid is the real killer. 54, and then you get more than that. Everybody's watching everybody. So, and then the final stop in the program in leadership is organizational leadership. How do you lead an organization, which is more complicated than a team, because now you got a number of teams, maybe divisions going, and so that's really the journey. And throughout the program, though, you're also learning, the basic finance and accounting and statistics and marketing and all the basic increment of being a business leader. Now, in terms of Garry and I, and those of you who are all going to get a copy of our book, I was a college professor for 10 years, and we came out here on sabbatical leave from the University of Massachusetts and just never went back. And Margie said, why are we returning? Summer in Massachusetts is, 2 weeks of bad skating. And so we just ended up staying here. And but when I was a college professor, I used to get myself in trouble periodically, because the first day of class, I would give out the final examination. And faculty and other people say, "What are you doing?" I say, "I'm confused." And I said, "I thought I was supposed to teach these kids." "You are, but don't give them the questions in the final." And I'd say, "Not only am I going to give them the questions in the final, what do you think I'm going to do all semester? I'm going to teach them their answers." So when they get to the final exam, they get A. Life's all about getting A's, not some stupid normal distribution curve. And I see poor people in organizations who have to screw a certain percentage of their people. I had a woman come up to me recently. She started to cry. She said, "I wish I had 8 people working for me." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Because with 7, I only can rate 1 high. And I have another really good person." And then Jack Welch had that creative thing, "Why don't you rank order your people?" That's a real fun deal. What are you going to do if you got all good people? big question I ask people, how many of you go out and hire losers? You know, we lost some of our best losers last year. We'd like to hire some new losers to fill the low slots, you know. No, you either go out and hire winners who you've stolen from other companies, or you hire what? Potential winners who think if you work with them well, they can be winners. So you're not hiring a normal distribution curve. I went to Cornell, and Tom Peters and I were fraternity brothers, and faculty hate us because they can't fire us. But we went nuts because here this great university was still giving the same speech they gave Peters and I in the 50s at orientation. Look to your left, look to your right, and in 4 years, one of you won't be here. Can you think of anything stupider than that? I mean, you know, here you go out and recruit the best 5%, 10% in the world. They're going to bust a third of them out. I said, I'll bust a third of the faculty out. And so I've been spouting that off for a long time, make some progress. But Garry was in our first cohort. And when I shared that, lights really went off for him. And he said, I can't understand why we don't do that in industry. And so he started to create this whole philosophy at WD-40 called Don't Mark My Paper, Help Me Get an A. And I'm going to turn it over to Garry so he can share with us. And he's just become a wonderful colleague and friend, which is really what this program is all about. Is I think it's too complicated, the world today, for us to try to figure out everything by ourselves, and so that we need each other. And I think that's what this program is also about. And I want to turn it over to Garry.
Thanks, Ken. You know, what do you get for your sins? You get to follow Ken Blanchard. And, you know, now the A's been set. So anyhow, thank you for being here. It's so exciting. I would never have thought back in 1999 when I started the MSEL program that I'd be standing here today. I'd be calling Ken and all of the Blanchard people, my friends. I'd have a book with Ken, and that we at WD-40 would have 14 graduates of the MSEL program. I so love this program. I so love this program that 14 people from my company have master's degrees in leadership. And that's why we were able to write the book, because WD-40 is truly a magnificent company. And it's really those 14 that helped me take the leadership message out through our organization. 96% of people of WD-40 company in our last employee opinion survey said they trust their supervisor. Well, that's pretty scary. They actually trust the person they work for. I want to start and tell you a little story in the book, and then I'm going to let you go read it, because once you read it, you'll hopefully go and share some of the things we've learned along the way. As you can tell by my accent, Cheryl picked it up here. She's from Melbourne. I'm actually from Sydney, which is, you know, her and I could be having a fight right now, but there's love in the room. In fact, I'm taking off for Sydney tonight, so I'm going to get on one of those flights. But I want to tell you a little story. Being CEO of WD-40 Company, we're in 160 countries around the world, so I get to fly around and visit the tribe members regularly often. And back in July 2007, I was on one of these trips, and I had a big learning moment. Now, at WD-40 Company, we don't make mistakes, we have learning moments. Because a learning moment is a positive or negative outcome of any situation. And why is that a good thing? Well, one of the biggest disablers in anybody is fear. You know, that we don't do stuff because we're afraid. So we wanted to take that fear element out. We wanted people to be able to run down the corridor and say, I just had a learning moment. So I had a learning moment on this trip. I took off from San Diego, went down to Sydney, went to visit my mum. My mum's 95 years old. Isn't that wonderful? There's only 2 words you've got to know when your mum's 95. You know what they are? Yes, mum. She can still chase me around the kitchen with a carving knife. She's pretty fiery. And Mum certainly, and as I shared in the book, Mum was someone who in my life journey gave me a lot of the spunk that she has. She said, you know, you can be anything you want in life. Just hold your head up high and walk forward. So I'd been to visit Mum, went to visit some friends in Perth, flew up to Shanghai. We have an operation in Shanghai where we have about 40 people on the ground there. We just started that operation not long ago, and there's a lot of squeaks in China yet to be silenced. We're out there with our, you can see us out there with little cans, all right? We're in the noise abatement business in China. Had a wonderful time with our tribe there, and got a late flight up to London, and landed in London about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Quick change at the hotel and out for dinner with some of our tribe members there. A couple of them were taking off for Russia the next day. A lot of rust in Russia. We're going to get that rust too. Got back to the hotel about 11 o'clock that night, and morning came double quick, you know. I had to get up and get on the train and up to Milton Keynes at our office, and now it's Friday, and I'm coming back on the train that afternoon, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, thank goodness. It's a weekend. I love London on the weekend. I can sleep in a little bit in the morning, and what'll I do tonight? I know, British comedy, yes. Don't often get a chance to listen to some British comedy, so I'm going to turn on the TV. In fact, I'll go across the road to the Sainsbury's, pick up a six-pack of beer, a snack of food, to get in my room, and I'm going to be the happiest camper. It's July, of course, so it's cold outside. So I do this. I get in my room, and I looked at treat. You know, I'm a fat, balding guy at the best of times, but if you can imagine this fat, balding guy with a pair of shorts, a T-shirt on, you know those really cool slippers you get in the hotels? Well, I got a size 11. Those slippers only come in 7s. So there I am, propped up, TV on, waiting for Little Britain, beer, little snack. I'm happy. And the alarm bell goes off in the hotel. Well, you know, I've stayed in a few hotels in my life, and what normally happens when an alarm bell goes off? Someone turns it off. When it goes on, someone turns it off. So I'm not paying any attention to this. I'm thinking, what the hell? This is going to get out of the way. I want my beer and my British comedy. Well, pretty soon there was a loud knock on the door. This was serious, and they were evacuating the hotel. So I pick up my passport, my cell phone. I got my T-shirt on, my running shorts, and my pair of designer slip-on thong, you know, those things. And down I go. Well, as soon as I hit the street, I realized this is July and this is London and it's not warm, right? Idiot. 7 o'clock at the night. So they put us all out into the street up into a little part of Berkeley Square, and there we stood. Well, there I stood. Everybody's looking at me and thinking, what an idiot he is. So anyhow, about an hour and a half went on. Guess what? It started to rain. Even worse. So I'm there like this, and I'm thinking, I don't know why I did this, and what happened to the British comedy, and, you know, I want my beer and whatever. So I got back, eventually they let us back in the hotel about 2 hours later. There was a bomb scare. London was, and still is, on high alert, and someone had left their backpack at the front door. So I get up to my room. Geez, I'm not happy. Have a shower. Didn't get to watch the British comedy, went to bed. Wednesday, it's time to go home. So I'm out at the airport and checking in at American Airlines, and the airline gods are good to me. Mr. Ridge, you can turn left as you go on the plane instead of right. Now, if you're turning left on a plane is a good thing. It goes towards the pointy end. And there's a lot of good stuff happens at the pointy end that doesn't happen at the back end of the plane. People actually, the seat, you can actually put your butt in it, you know. So up I get, and I get into the plane, and I sit down, and the flight attendant comes along, and just before 12, glass of champagne, of course. And I sit down, and we take off. And I start, as we, you know, climb and things settle down, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, wow, this has been a pretty amazing trip. You know, I'd been to see Mum, 95, visit some friends, been to Shanghai, been to London, done some good work, been out for 26 days. It'll be good to get back to San Diego. And suddenly, that sensation of cold hit me when I thought about my designer shorts, T-shirt, and those little slip-ons that I had standing in the street in London. I thought, wow, alarm bell. What is the learning moment in that? And I got a bit of paper, and I put a line down the middle, and I wrote across the top, listen to the alarm bells. And I thought to myself, how many alarm bells are going off in my life right now that I'm choosing not to pay attention to? So I started, and on one column I put business, and the other column I put personal. And I started to write down these alarm bells. You're too fat, get more exercise. You're being scarce with your I love yous. Are you losing the affection of others? What happens if oil goes to $100 a barrel? It in fact went to 148. And I came up with this list, and I said, wow, what am I going to do about that? So my learning moment from all of that is how many alarms are going off in our life because of the noise of business that we're choosing not to hear or choosing not to pay attention to. I took that exercise and I've had this conversation with a number of people since then, and we've done it, and it's amazing. And if you got the guts, when you go home tonight, try it. I tell you what, you'll get yourself a nice list of things that you have choices to talk about. So my challenge on alarm bells with you is two. In our book, we challenge you that maybe there's some alarm bells going on in the way, off on the way you're managing, leading, teaching, and developing your people within your organization. You know, do your people know what an A looks like on a daily basis? Do you have regular conversations with them about how they're doing? Do you, as a leader, accept the responsibility when you put on that badge that it's up to you to make sure others get an A? It's not up to them. So hopefully you'll get a chance to read our book and learn some of the things we've learned along the way. But the second alarm bell that I want to challenge you with is those that are thinking about making a difference in the world and preparing themselves for better leadership. And if you think that the world deserves to be better, and if you think that you would like to wear that badge of leadership, there's only one thing that you need to do, and it's very simple. You need to do the MSEL program. Because if you do the MSEL program, Ken will write a book with you. Oh, maybe not, sorry, Ken. No, more importantly, if you do the MSEL program, you'll go through a program with a cohort group. I used to call it a living learning laboratory. You don't know what it's like to go through a cohort and learn through it. In fact, Mike's has never got anything to say. Have you, Mike's? I'm going to ask you, can you just share with us a couple of ahas, hi Rosie, about what it's like to be in a cohort learning experience?
It's an amazing.
Would you like to hide your own microphone?
Do I get a microphone? You know, I don't like people, Ken, and I'm really shy.
I'm Garry.
Oh, right. What's your name again? I'm on my way to be just like these guys. I'm follically challenged. When I started the program, actually 11 months ago, I thought, oh God, this is going to be 22 months of way too much stuff to do. And now, with like a year left to go, I can't wait to get back into class. I can't wait to learn, and I can't wait to take the stuff that I learned back into my organization. I'm actually really humbled being with these people. I'm usually not this nervous in front of others. But it's difficult for me to express the amazing learning moments that you get by being in a cohort program, by being with the same people every month for 22 months, and being able to bring that back into your organization and share it. So, sorry, I'm a little choked up, I guess.
You're good. The other thing that's really exciting about being in MSEL, you do get the opportunity to give back. And I know John's here and Trey. Where's John and Trey? Stand up. These are two MSEL alumni. Both of them and I now teach in the program. We're actually adjunct professors, so we get to bring back our learning. And boy, isn't it amazing how much we learn when we get to teach? It's been fantastic. So what a great family. Thanks, guys. What a great family it is to see. Not only do you get to learn with great people, and then you get the opportunity to give back. So it's been a wonderful story from that first day in 1999 to today with the book that shares a lot of this book came from MSEL, a lot of the MSEL learnings, to the people we've met, to the students we've interacted with, to being able to be involved in the teaching and give back. So those of you who are thinking, this is the time, you have a choice. And you can choose to say, I'm too busy, I haven't got the time, it's not going to work, or whatever. Or you can choose to say, I want to be a better leader, I want the world to be a better place, I'm going to make the commitment, and I want to do it with a group of loving, caring, and supporting individuals that will help you get along the way. So that's my challenge to you. I hope that you enjoyed our little breakfast this morning. It was amazing how these things come around. Ken and I were sitting in a TV studio a few weeks ago talking about, we've got to get this thing fired up. Let's get the alumni together. Let's get the prospects together. And within, I don't know, a couple of weeks, the whole thing came together. And look what can happen when you really have a mission to get it done. So thank you very, very much. And I do hope you think seriously about MSEL. And please enjoy the copy of the book that that you've got to take home. G'day.
Good day. Thanks, Gary. It is a special thing to be able to work with people because as faculty members, we look at the students as our colleagues, not as people we should prove that we're smarter than they are. And that really makes it fun. Gary, with what they did with WD-40, just to give you just a little background, is that there's three parts of an effective performance management system. The first one is performance planning, where people get a chance to understand what their goals and objectives are and what good performance looks like. And that's where giving people what is an A really comes into play. At WD-40, in the beginning of the year, every employee gets a chance to take a look at their job essentials, at least as that's what the job description is. And if it's a new job, they ask them, is this what you signed up for? Because there's the responsibilities with other people who've been in the job saying, this is a job essentials from last year. Do you think there's any changes? So they look at those. And then each manager, you'll notice Gary talks about tribe members. One of the things that he felt is they needed to do a cultural change while they're making major change. And he thought rather than talking about teams, the tribe was really a better concept to deal with it, because one of the problems that they had and a lot of organizations had is silos, where people were protecting knowledge, and if they learned something new, they didn't want to share it with anybody else because that other department or individual might get in there. And so the concept of a tribe is a nice one, where the elders would sit around a fire and share with the younger folks, the stories and the traditions and all of that. So that's where this learning opportunity came from, and the fact that sharing knowledge was expected of people. And so they call themselves tribe members. But every tribe leader sits down with every tribe member and looks at their job essentials and first agrees if that's what they are for now. And then they pick out 3 to 5 observable, measurable goals that if they hit those goals, they will get an A. And so you can't set a goal on every different part of your job, but we believe in the 80-20 rule, that 80% of the performance you want from people comes from 20% of their activities. And so what you do is you look at the 20% that's going to give you the 80%, and the 20% is stuff that's going to help the bottom line and the performance of the company. So in accounting, you might be looking at things like, arrears. How are we doing in that whole area? Well, how are we doing in accuracy, which costs us money, and if you had a trucking division, it might be gas consumption. A lot of people wouldn't think how important that is. Accidents, because those cost us money and all. And so everybody gets a chance with their tribe leader to come up with what are the key responsibilities and how can we have observable, measurable goals in those. And so that's what an A is. And so that's performance planning. But another part of performance planning is one of the key concepts you'll learn in the program is about situational leadership, which there's no one best leadership style. It all depends on the person you're dealing with in the situation. Therefore, you can have the same person on 3 or 4 goals. They'll be at different levels of development. Some people are enthusiastic beginners. They never had a goal like that, and they need direction and supervision. You had somebody on another goal has tremendous experience in that area, and you can delegate to them and all. And so one of the processes is really kind of partnering for performance on, okay, now that we have these goals, how can I help you as a tribe leader for each of your goals? And my help might be different for different goals. So that begins the whole process of the thing. And then, which I think is remarkable, is that every quarter, every tribe member gets together with their tribe member again, and they look, first of all, at the final exam and says, is this final exam still relevant? Because you know what happens in a lot of organizations? You might set goals in the beginning of the year. What happens to most goals after they're set? They're filed. Until when? Somebody says, you got your annual performance review, and everybody goes, oh, shit, and they're all running around trying to find the damn goals, And half of the goals might not be relevant anymore because things change all the time. And so at the beginning of each of the quarters, second, third, and fourth, a tribe member and their tribe leader can change the final exam if, because things have come up, and I'm asking, you, Kevin, to do some things that we never would have thought about in the beginning of the year, but we got this. And so his final exam could change all the way up to the beginning of the fourth quarter, because it's so stupid just to have goals in the beginning of the year and file them and then assume that's what we're going to evaluate you on the end of the year, because we all know how fast things are moving, so that they really get a chance. But in between those quarters, they have one-on-ones where they, about every 2 weeks, sit for 15 or 30 minutes with each of their direct reports and say, how's it going? It's a direct reports meeting. And so as Gary's saying, we want to try to increase the quality and the quantity of conversations, and it's both people's responsibility to get the A. And so if you're concerned that you're not getting the help you want, you need to say, I need, which you learn in self-leadership, I need 5 minutes here, I need this, and all. And what's really fabulous that Gary didn't talk about is to look at the data in WD-40 in the last 8 years since they've implemented this don't mark my paper, help me get an A. Because what would happen if you set observable, measurable goals that are going to help your organization's performance, and you create a partnership between managers and their people, and it's the manager's responsibility to help people get an A, what do you think will happen? See, most people have stupid evaluations where you have to fill out things like, are they promotable? Promotability, that's a wonderful one. Initiative, creativity. What the hell do they mean? Nobody knows. So what do? You suck up the hierarchy because you know you better have a good relationship with your boss, because the boss has got to take so many percentage of the people to the cleaners because everybody can't get A. You see how stupid that is? And so that's why I'm really excited, because I got a CEO with performance data and tribe around the world that, when he's talked about their survey of their company, 98% of the people in WD-40 fill out their internal employee survey. In most companies, you get 45%. You're lucky. And you get things like, 95 or 6 people saying, I trust my manager. 97 people say, I'm clear on what I'm being asked to do. So I hope there's some alarms for some of you all here. And if you want Gary and I to talk to your CEO, we'd be happy to, because one of my main jobs with CEOs is to give them a checkup from the neck up and get rid of some of their stinking thinking, about their people, because, you can really get your people on your side. And that's what this is all about. This is just such, I'm as excited about this as I've been of anything else, because of us working together on this, and it's the direct result of this program. It's also a fabulous example of servant leadership. When I talk about servant leadership, a lot of people think you're talking about the inmates running the prison or trying to please everybody or some kind of church leadership program. No, they don't understand leadership. See, there's 2 parts of leadership. One is vision and direction, because leadership is about going somewheres. If your people don't know where you're going, your leadership doesn't matter. Even Alice learned that in Alice in Wonderland. Remember when she gets to the fork in the road and this fool Cheshire Cat sitting there? She says, which road should I take? And the cat says, where are you going? She said, I don't know. The cat says, it doesn't matter. See, your leadership style does not matter if your people don't know what an A is and what they're being asked to do. And so the first part of servant leadership is having something to serve. This is what we're trying to accomplish. This is the leadership part of servant leadership. And the traditional hierarchy can be alive and well for that part of it, because it's your responsibility as a manager to make sure everybody understands what an A is and what they're supposed to be working on. It doesn't mean you're not involving them, because you are, but this is a disagreement. If Kevin and I disagree on his goals and we can't come to agreement, I win. Why? If I'm his manager, because I represent the goals of the organization. Okay, but when we talk about leadership style and what he needs to help him get an A, if we disagree, he wins. And then I say, okay, I don't agree with that, but how can I help you? And what are you going to be able to show me in a couple of weeks to show me that you're right and I'm wrong? So initially, the leadership part of servant leadership is about where we're going, what we're trying to accomplish. What does good behavior look like? And then the second part of servant leadership kicks in. Now you turn the pyramid upside down. And who works for whom? Now I work for Kevin. What do you mean I work for him? My job is to help him get an A. And that's the servant part of servant leadership. I'm not going to sit around like this, he works for me, let me look at those numbers and all that kind of thing. That's the arrogance of a lot of way organizations are run. Managers are considered judge and jury and all, and are supposed to sort people out. You're not supposed to sort people out. You're supposed to help them win. And if your people win, what happens to your organization? Duh, it wins. That's what it drives. Sometimes I think I'm coming from Mars, And that's why it's so exciting to find somebody like Garry and his 14 cohort, because they played a major role. I was down at their operation when we started with the book and all. It's just great to be with their people and to meet people. I was giving a talk in the Far East, and I was talking about this, and boy, there was a WD-40 person in Singapore. We were there, and oh my God, you're absolutely right. I love the tribe, and you're really, that's just fabulous, that people really get. And the big thing about servant leadership is that I want to make sure that you know where we're going, what we're trying to accomplish, and then I work for you, okay? And to me, the classic example of servant leadership, I didn't invent this, was Jesus. And I don't mention that to try to get religious on you, but when I became a follower, I was 48 years old, and I went to Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and Acts, because I want to know what the man did. I'm looking for the red print. And I found out everything I had ever taught about leadership, Jesus did, and he did it with these 12 incompetent guys. You wouldn't have hired that lot. And when he washed the feet of the disciples, was he washing their feet because they were dirty? No, he was transitioning from vision and direction to implementation. And he said, just as I have done for you, do for them. And so that was the way he wanted leadership. Now, of course, human beings have screwed it up. Have you ever seen any churches with hierarchies? And everybody's sucking up the hierarchy and not telling the truth or any of that kind of stuff, That would drive him nuts. See, because there's two parts of leadership, vision and direction. Here's where we're going. And then the second part is, how do I help you get there? And that's the real role of the servant. And the ultimate is getting down on your knees and me washing Kevin's feet. And why would I even think about doing that? Because I'm nothing without him. He's got the guy to get the numbers. I'm just the one who's here to help him. And so that's what's really powerful about this. We just really hope that we can start a revolution around the world, that people can really get it. And when you see great companies, they really get it. The second book in my series, I wrote this book, Leading at a Higher Level, with all our people I mentioned, which is kind of the leadership curriculum book for MSEL. And then I'm doing this series, and Garry's is the first one on examples of people leading at a higher level. And I'm just finishing one up now with Colleen Barrett, the president of, just stepped down, of Southwest Airlines. And why do you think Southwest Airlines is the only airline to speak of that's really still making money and all that? Duh, They take care of their people. They empower their people. Why are they so funny and do different kinds of things there? Because they put all the power there. You walk in their corporate headquarters across from Love Field, their stock price is, stock symbol is love, L-U-V, so the book is called Leadership is Love, L-U-V. There's a big thing about their people. Without you, we're nothing. And you're the ones that have made Southwest Airlines and all that kind of thing. And if you ever met Colleen Barrett or Herb Kelleher and now Gary Kelly, they are just amazing because they think their people are their business partners. Their people are not there, just as a side act. Their people are everything. And I'm not talking to you about soft management. In the book, look at some of the data coming out of WD-40. So it's a pretty, powerful thing. And one of the things you'll see in here, which comes out of the course that Margie and I teach, is one of the reasons I think a lot of this change worked is it was consistent with Garry's leadership point of view. And I got excited about leadership point of view when I got a chance to work with Noel Tishy, and he wrote a wonderful book called The Leadership Engine. And he said all great leaders that he's seen have a very clear leadership point of view, and they're willing to teach it to others. And so what we do in that course is we help people identify for themselves what their leadership point of view is, which includes what do you expect of people, and what can they expect of you? And once you get a chance to see what your expectations, then the question is, where did that all come from? And of course, Garry talks about his mom and his dad and different key people. He's been calling on the phone with his book coming out, men who really impacted him when he was young and gave him a job, and they're in their late 80s, early 90s, and just reconnecting with them and saying thanks. And he talks about them in the book and what he learned from them, which helped him develop what his mission was in life and what his values are and all that kind of thing. So it's really powerful for you to get clear on. And I've never seen anybody come up with a leadership point of view that says it's all about me. I think all of the recognition and power and money ought to move up the hierarchy, and all that kind of thing. And yet we've seen a lot of that behavior, and that's caused a lot of the economic problems that we have. A whole bunch of leaders who think leadership's all about them and forget who really makes the thing happen. And so we're excited about it, and that's why we're excited about this program, because we have great faculty from USD and great faculty from our company who really care. I mean, these people really care about the program and look forward to it. I mean, who wants to necessarily give up a 3-day weekend to teach? But the people really love it because we get it back tenfold because of the interaction with the students. And so my kind of goal in life is to get the BS out of the behavioral sciences. And Garry's really helped me show how that really works with important concepts that we teach in the program. So as Garry said, I don't know if there's an alarm bell for those of you who are thinking about it. We've got people, we have a wonderful gal who has a PhD and runs a department at the University of California in San Diego. And she came in and got in the master's degree program because she wanted to be a better leader. And now all of a sudden she's getting a real opportunity to even have a higher position and all. So, don't matter what degree you have, those are all nice, but those are the ones that you put up on the wall. Our degree you use on a daily basis. And if you want to put it up on the wall, you can, but that's not where the action is. The action is, how can I make a difference in the world? And people really have noticed that they can make a better difference at home when they understand this stuff as well as at work. So it's not just about business, it's about all of life. It's a really exciting thing. In the book, we tell Garry's story, and then I give 12 simple truths that really make the thing happen. And just to end, I talked that the 3 parts of managing performance is performance planning, where you give people the final exam, and then day-to-day coaching, because after you set the goals, that's just the beginning, and you agree on how you're going to work with them. That's when you're teaching them the answers. You don't wait to the end of the year to say somebody you're not performing very well or something's wrong. You go, wrong answer. Is there a better answer? Or if they got right answers and are making progress, you give them attaboys, attagirls. And then the last part of a good performance management system is performance evaluation, where you sit down and you go over the year. Where do you think in most organizations the most time is spent by managers? performance planning, day-to-day coaching, or performance evaluation? What's the biggest time consumer? Evaluation. You go, yo, you got your annual performance review. One of the things you're going to love at WD-40, every one of the tribe members only fills out one performance review. Who's that on? Themselves. Is there anything stupider than you sitting in your room and filling out evaluations on your people? Because if you've been in contact with them, let them fill it out, and your job is either to agree or disagree. Boy, does that take time away. Because where do you want your time spent in day-to-day coaching? Not at the end of the year trying to figure out how I'm going to sort these people out. Because at the end they are. And each quarter when they come together, they have a little report card like you used to get in school. And each tribe member, for each goal, gives himself an A, a B, a C, or an L. L stands for learning. I'm still learning, so I don't think I should be evaluated. And if they're really amazing, they can give themselves an A+. But there's no Ds or Fs. A B is actually a great score because it says, I'm doing pretty well, but I need some help. And Garry always, as he goes around the world, tries to find out where are the B's, is there anything I can do to help? And if somebody gives themselves a C, they know they're not performing well, and they might want to say, could somebody else take this goal, because it's not in my, strength area and all. But you have constant data, and they fill that out each quarter, and then there's at the bottom for the overall annual score, and you're working together. And it doesn't mean everybody always gets A, but I want to tell you everybody knows where they are and what kind of help they're going to do, and it's tremendous for career planning and all those kind of things. Because I want to tell you, if people gave me certain responsibilities, there's some, no matter how good a coach I had, I wouldn't get an A. At our company, they finally, at our board meetings, permit me to go to sleep during finance discussions. I just don't have any interest in that. I hate numbers, and all those kind of things. And it's, you got to look at what you are. And if I have financial responsibilities, I need real close supervision. Otherwise, we're in trouble. But it's so interesting how you can figure yourself out. So it's good to be with you today, and I appreciate all the alumni coming and all. Kurt, was there some other alumni that you had planned to kind of chat with the group for a minute, or was there any?
I think we could take some questions.
Sure. Any questions or any alumni want to comment, or anything that you want to ask Garry or I, or should be yes, Eric, Garry, or me? I would have gotten a. I'm a B in that. I never could write. Anybody, any questions, comments? This is so clear, huh? Duh. Yeah, that's your only comment. And Margie, do you have anything to say? No, here's one over here. Over here. Rosie, how are you?
I just graduated in May, and I was telling Mike, who's in cohort 10, I was part of cohort 9, that this is such an amazing experience that some of our cohort members are now just saying, gosh, we're only about a month out, and we're missing the connections that we've made and the learning, the continual learning. And it's really inspired a lot of us to continue that learning, and that you go back to work and you really do start implementing this right away. It's something that you get pumped up for the weekend. It's something where you might come in a little tired because you've done all this homework, but you get so excited, and it gives you so much energy to go back in the next Monday and you start implementing right away. And it's something that if you've got any doubts, I'm happy to answer questions, and I'm sure a lot of the cohort members are happy to answer questions about it because it's an amazing program. It really was an amazing experience at the graduation to hear about how it touched every one of our lives, personally, at work, just all around. And I'd really encourage any of you, if you're on the fence, just go for it. The investment of time is really well worth it. Like I said, you really start implementing the changes right away. Day one, Monday, you go back to work and you can start making some changes. So I encourage any one of you to really take that step, fill in that application, and join cohort 11.
Thank you, Rose. I'm going to turn the ball. Yeah, a couple here. Yeah.
Thanks, sir. I'm a military officer, and I'm involved in a training program that brings, new members kind of into our organization. And I'm part of the, middle management, if you will, of that organization. And I think the middle management is very, very focused and is achieving much of the servant leadership you're talking about. I think our senior leadership, and it will change in 2 years, but right now is not so much. I think they're focused a lot more on, I'll probably get in trouble. There's probably someone here that knows my boss, but anyway. That is more focused on survival and career and moving forward and not getting in trouble, if you will. How do some of these concepts that you're talking about, how would you look to inject those if you're not, I don't run WD-40. I don't get to run my organization yet, but I'm wanting to be part of that change and move the ball downfield. But it's tough with some of that senior level.
Yeah, that's a great question. In the self-leadership program, one of the things we teach people is about points of power. And a lot of people think they don't have any power unless they have a position. And yet, if people like to be around you, you have personal power. If you know people with power, you have connection power. If you're good at some technology and all, you got some technical power and all. And so what we really do is get people in charge. And when you're talking about how do you do things, is that my dad retired as an admiral in the Navy, so I know he always made sure that rather than spending all of his time complaining up, his group was unbelievable, the way he treated them and what he did. And then he tried to build his personal power to influence people above, because you have to have a relationship with people of position power who may not believe what you do. If you sit there and scorn them or anything, you can't. So you got to see, first of all, can you catch them doing anything right? And give them a praising. You might even get a summary comment from a meeting you have, and you say, gee, I really appreciated getting that, Greg. That summary helped me dealing with my people. Thanks a lot. It's very specific and all, and I caught him doing something right. And if people above you start to feel you're a good teammate because you're supportive of them, see, don't lie, pick out specific things. Then if I get a good relationship with Greg, then I might be able to give him some feedback. Sir, I wonder if I could share with you, some thoughts I have. Because I got something in my interpersonal bank with him, then I can do that. Aren't old friends, they tell you the truth. Why? Because they got so much in the bank, you're not going to wipe them off. But if somebody just joins your company and the second week in, they're in your office telling what a awful operation this is and all, you're going to say, man, who hired this person? And all, because they got no points with you. So first of all, take care of your own work, and then develop personal power up. And then prayer also helps sometime for people. People ask me, how do you take a self-serving leader and make him a servant leader? There's only 3 ways I know. One, a near-death experience is very helpful. If you've ever known anybody who's almost died, they really have a whole different attitude towards life when they come out of that. A second one is some spiritual awakening, when people really get it, like Rick Warren in Purpose Driven Life. First sentence is, it's not about you. That's a really great learning, that life is not about you, that you kind of become an adult when you realize you're here to serve, not to be served, kind of thing. And the third one is role models. And you could end up being a role model for somebody up above when they actually look at the performance of the thing. One of the great books I love to pass around the military is It's Your Ship. This guy in the Navy is so wonderful, but I've been on programs with him, where he really took over command. And when he came on board, everybody applauded, as the other guy left, and he said, man, I'm really in trouble. They were applauding because he was leaving. So it's interesting. I had a wonderful experience this last week. My dad lost 75% of his men were killed and wounded in the Second World War in the Pacific. He had 12 LCIs, landing craft infantry. He was supposed to protect the Marines, and they call them SEALs today. In those days, they call them the Frogmen. And he reported to Chester Nimitz. And I got a chance to meet the admiral of the West Coast Fleet, and it was a changing of the guard. And I got invited to go, and it was on the Nimitz, so I went down just to kind of bask and remember my dad, who had a tremendous impact on me. You talk about leadership point of view. When I was in 7th grade, I won the president of the class, and I was all pumped up, you know. And I came home and I said, Dad, I'm the president of the class, you know. And here I am, what am I, 13 years old or something? My dad says, congratulations, Ken, but now that you have that position, don't use it. Great leaders are great because people trust and respect them, not because they have power. He was an amazing guy. He was kind of a Mr. Roberts. Yeah.
I'd actually like to try and answer to that question also. One of the things that I am so proud at the end of our program is to watch the progress that the students have made and the way they're thinking. And Ken and I are sitting there and we're all puffed up and we're thinking, wow, we're great and these students are great. But then one day I just sat there thinking, we're the wrong people to be watching this. And what we really need to do is to invite the sponsors of the students who are in the program to periodically get involved and maybe be invited to some parts of the program, or maybe be invited to attend a day-long overview of the whole program that maybe Ken could teach or Garry could be involved with. And then periodically, as the students go through, say, well, now the students at this part of the program, and here's some talking points that you might want to do with them, so that they become part of what I call the ecosystem of the students going through the program. Because it's very difficult for one person to go back into a program and make the kind of changes organizationally. But one of the reasons Garry has been so successful is he is the CEO. And he knew that every single person going through his program was going to get the same experience, and they were going to become part of his tribe. And sometimes we're at a big session like this, and students raise their hand and they say, oh, my life has changed. And, you know, and we've got CEOs in the group saying, I'm not sure I want my people's lives to change. Where are they going to go, you know, and that kind of thing. And so one of the things we need to do, I think, as a group, is to figure out how can we involve the sponsors, if they wish to be involved, a little more in the actual student experience, so that they get, you know, they come along with it, and maybe then they sponsor someone else going through the program. So that's one of our ideas. One of the things that I know that the MSEL students here have been working very hard to help us with marketing the program. And I think one part of marketing the program might be to get some of the sponsors that sponsored you to get more involved in the program. Maybe be a coach, or be there at the end where they get to hear all the things that went on and they get that feeling of pride or wonder of all the progress that's been made. So that's, I believe as a program we can make some progress in helping your infrastructure or your ecosystem become a little more involved, so you're not the only person there. So, okay.
My name is Anna Marie LeMay. I'm a current student of cohort 10. Before I started MSEL, I was considering an MBA program. I had been looking at them for years. I was very actively trying to get more information right before I submitted my application. When I talked to other students at MBA programs, they frequently would say, talk about like what they had to do to get through the program, not what they had learned, not how they had grown, just how they had sort of suffered through. When you talk to students of MSEL, they will clearly tell you how the program has changed their life. So I encourage you to pull one of us aside to talk to us about our personal experience, because it's very personal. I'm, at the time that I was exploring MSEL, I'm in the mortgage industry. My whole world is plummeting. People are falling off the vine left and right. Talk about tragedy in your career. Now, I've never felt more inspired. I still have my job. I work really, really hard, and I really attribute my current success and my future success, I'm sure of it, to MSEL program. It really has changed my life and my career path. I encourage you to get more information. It's amazing.
I think we have one more question back here.
Yes, sir.
I have a question that I talked to several people here, and obviously this is a great program to take. I heard several times that I'm committed to take this program, just not this year, next year. I have two companies where I'm thinking to send my manager to this program. I cannot do it this year. I will do it next year. My question is there anything we can do to prepare people to this program? Maybe something, not a full-scale program, but a course we can send them to, maybe a weekend course, maybe something which can prepare them. Thank you.
Two answers to that. One is this series that Kurt's talking about, and find out about that. They could come to that. Another one is to get a copy of Leading at a Higher Level. We can get that for you, which really summarizes the whole leadership aspect of this. That'll give them a really good overview and sense of coming in. And then, of course, people have to get creative about financing, and we're willing to try to work with them on that. So this is really kind of an investment in their future. And sometimes people could use a financial planning course, too, that could help them.
I'd like to, any other questions before I do this? Let me just tell you very quickly, for those of you that are thinking about the program, what the process looks like. There is an application process. There is paperwork involved, and in fact, in most of your invitations, you probably receive, if you got it from me, a link to the application website. And if you're thinking about it, you need to know a couple of things. Number one, time for the next cohort is relatively short. Cohort 11 will be seated on August 9th. The deadline for application is July 10th. Today is June 25th. So if you're one of those fence sitters, this would be a darn good time to get the paperwork done. If you have a problem with that kind of deadline, give me a call. And by the way, I'd like to identify Gina Fasila back here, who I work with. And you probably know Gina if you've asked questions about this program. I've learned a lot from her about it. You'll be seeing a lot of her going forward. We're here to help you. We're here to help you find your way for this program, see if it's the right fit for you. I trust that after hearing what you heard this morning, you can see why I called from the table and said, I know that I'm in the right place right now. The question I have for you is, are you in the right place? Is this for you? If it is, I would encourage you to do what you need to do this weekend. It's online. You fill out the applications. You're going to need some letters of recommendation, 3 of those. They take time. They take a lot of time to get. I don't know about your Rolodex list, but mine is not all that faithful when it comes time to respond to email. So give yourself a little bit of advantage. We will ask you for transcripts. We will ask you for an application, of course, an essay. We'll ask you for an example of a work product, something that you've done in your professional career, because we're looking for individuals in this program that already have arrived at a significant level of achievement in their career. You've led people, teams, organizations in the past. Those are the table stakes for the MSEL program. So we'll ask you for a copy of the work product so that we can see how you express what you've been able to do. And what else? Transcripts, I mentioned those. Anything else, Gina? I'm forgetting something here. Resume? Yeah, that's pretty easy. The first start is to make the decision to go forward, recognizing that the timing is pretty tight. Call us if we can help you. I would just remind you, and to your question, sir, we will be announcing a series of executive education programs coming up. We'll start with 2 of those in the next 3 or 4 weeks. And if you'd like to be a part of that, if you're not on our email list, please be sure to leave a business card on the table as you're leaving today, and we'll make sure that you get that invitation. It'll be right back here on campus, probably about the same kind of a format. This seems to work pretty well for most people. Very good. Darn it, something else. Am I forgetting anything, Gina? You sure? Seems like I am. I guess the last thing I'd say, the people with the red names on the name tags are involved with the program either as alumni, active students, or part of the faculty. So I would encourage you to seek them out. If you have any questions, find me. I'll be available as long as I can. I'm always available by phone and email. And with that, I'll leave you with a quote that John Kennedy was famous for saying, and that is that learning and leadership are inseparable from one another. And at the University of San Diego, we firmly believe that. We're here to be your lifelong learning partner. We'd like to be a part of your development as a person, as a professional. And we'd also like to be able to help you within your organization. So if this kind of a thing sounds familiar, if it sounds appealing to you, please seek us out after this. We have some information on the table. And join us at a future date. We'd love to have you back here.